Excellent. So, welcome to our candidate forum for the El Cerrito Democratic Club combined with the DPCCC. Um, for information, the ECDC will be having our endorsement vote not today, but it'll be after our next meeting on August 25th, and a ballot will be sent out, and that will be held open for 3 days for members to vote. DPCCC will have a separate process, but I think you turned in your questionnaire, but candidates who have not turned in a questionnaire will not appear on that ballot.
Okay.
And anything else from DPCCC before we jump in?
No, sir.
Michael Nye, anything from you?
Go for it. You covered the waterfront.
Excellent. All right. So our first question, what single change would you prioritize if elected to the El Cerrito City Council? Why is it your priority, and how would you go about implementing it?
Sure. Thank you so much, both DCCC and ECDC members, for being here and having me here to speak with you today. I think if there was one change that I would prioritize, or one thing that I would prioritize, it would be strengthening our economic development and our tax base, our revenue base here in El Cerrito. Over the last 4 years, we have done a great amount to work on stabilizing the city's financial issues from the past, from before I was on the council. But in order for us to continue to do that and continue down that road, we do need to actually work on bringing in more revenue into our budget. That's one thing that we saw in our recent forecast is that while we have built up our reserve, we've built up our EDRF, but we need to make sure that we're bringing in more funds aside from just our real estate tax base. So what I want to do is be more intentional about filling vacant storefronts, supporting businesses that are already here, and attracting more businesses. And also making it easier for businesses that intend to come into El Cerrito to actually open up and do business here. One thing that we've seen is a lot of times, whether it's building a whole new building or whether it's something such as here where I live here in the Mayfair building next to the BART station, you'll get businesses that are entitled to spaces, that are entitled to build there, but for whatever reason financially it's become too difficult for them to do so. So we want to make sure that we're making the permitting process easier. We're making it easier for them to work with us here at City Hall, making it more easy for us to actually, if we need to help them find funding to get up and running. But supporting our businesses and bringing more businesses into our city is definitely the priority for me. A stronger commercial base will also ultimately make it easier for us to build more resources, build more public safety, which we'll probably talk about here today, as far as putting more funds into public safety, continuing the important work that we've done on infrastructure for our streets and our parks, and yes, maybe even a library. I'll just go throw it out there like the bomb that it is. Um, so that's what's important to me is working on building on our revenue and our tax base here in El Cerrito.
Great. Thank you, Carolyn. And I have to apologize because right at the outset, I made an immediate error because I was supposed to give you 2 minutes for an opening statement. So I've now highlighted that in my notes.
Not do
Thank you
that to
for
anyone else, Neil.
thank you for jumping right into the questions, but we can sort of backtrack if you want, and I give you 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Okay, sure. Well, thank you again, El Cerrito Dims and DCCC. My name is Carolyn Wysinger, as you know, and I am running for endorsement for re-election to the El Cerrito City Council. For me, being here and serving El Cerrito has been very important and been an honor of my life because I grew up here. This is my home. I grew up as a young leader, learning how to lead constituencies here in West Contra Costa area as a student at El Cerrito High School. So it's an honor to serve people who are some who are my friends, some who are my classmates, some who are my teachers. It's important to me that I am serving the city as best as I can. When I make decisions about our city, about our streets, about our public safety, about housing, about businesses, about parks, I'm not just making decisions out of the blue. I'm making decisions for future generations that will be able to call El Cerrito home. Over the last 5 years, over the last 4 years, I've had the privilege of helping lead El Cerrito through some important challenges and opportunities. We've worked to strengthen the city finances, as we just discussed. We've invested in public safety and infrastructure and addressed our housing needs. We've become one of the top housing cities actually here in our state. And we've worked to bring outside resources and partnerships back into El Cerrito. I'm running not just because for the fun of it. I'm running because I'm proud of what we accomplished. And I want to have the opportunity to continue to build on that and continue to build that next generation of leadership and results here in El Cerrito. I want the next 4 years to be about building on the stability we've created, strengthening our economy, filling our commercial corridors, continuing to invest in our infrastructure and public safety, continuing to expand our housing opportunities, and making sure El Cerrito remains a community where people across generations and incomes can build a life. I've worked to make sure our little city has had a voice beyond just our borders of El Cerrito. I'm proud to represent El Cerrito at the oh,
Great. Thank you, Carolyn.
sure.
And so now up to Michael Nye for a DP Triple C question.
Hi, Carolyn. Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the operating budget of the district for which you're running?
The operating budget for the district that I'm running for, oh my goodness, I forget our whole budget because we've worked so hard on it. I'm honest, Michael, and I forget what the actual budget number is there in El Cerrito. I'm so sorry about that.
Approximately.
I'm gonna give you a bad number.
Operating budget, not capital budget.
Not capital budget. The operating budget, is it 13 million? I do not believe it's 13 million. I don't know why that number is flashing in my mind. I'm so sorry. I forget what our operating budget amount is.
Okay, back to Neil, and then we'll go to Irene after that.
Okay, thanks, Carolyn. So our second ECDC question is, what is your vision for El Cerrito in 5 years? And what skills make you qualified to achieve that vision?
So my vision in the next 5 years, and this is something I remember speaking with the Young Dems the other day. My vision is so much similar to what it was when I came into office because we've done so much, and we've built so much. I always wanted to make sure that this was a place that people of color, that young people, that the next generation could live and thrive in. I want residents to see the progress that when they walk outside. I want them to have better streets. I want them to have corridors. I want this to be a more walkable city so that we're not just going out to San Francisco or Oakland or Berkeley to spend our money, to spend our time. I want young generations, young people. I want young families to be able to come here. I want parents to be able to actually go out for an hour and leave their kids and be able to come back. What I bring forth is both institutional knowledge and the ability to build partnerships, which I think is my biggest strength is building partnerships. I understand how our city works, but I also understand that a city cannot accomplish everything on its own, which is why I was going into in my opening that I have built partnerships across our Cal cities. I do serve on the public safety committee there at Cal cities as well as the National League of Cities, and I've also represented our city in the Democratic and National Democratic Party. But that's my big vision for the time that I've been on the council, and also going forward is making sure that we're continuing to build a city where people can come in and live and grow, and those who are already living here can age in place here in El Cerrito.
Great, thank you. Back to Michael Nye or Irene. I don't know who has the next DP Triple C question.
That would be me. Quick question for you, Carolyn. Do you support or oppose project labor agreements? Why or why not?
I absolutely support project labor agreements. I think it's important that we're making sure that as a city that's doing so much building, that we're making sure that we're keeping the opportunities to have those jobs here at home, here in El Cerrito and in West Contra Costa. I believe that El Cerrito became a project labor city right before I became on council. I remember being in chambers, but I can't remember if I was on the dais or believe I was in the audience. But I think it's so important. It shows good faith to our labor partners that we're making sure that we're using labor on our projects. And again, as I said, when we're talking about building economic development, that also goes into building the bench here in El Cerrito. So when we're talking about having skilled labor, we're talking about giving people the opportunity to live and grow and thrive here. They have to be able to work here. And so if what they're choosing is to be in our skilled labor sector, then we want to make sure that they have the opportunity when they're seeing those buildings buildings going up, they know that they have the opportunity to work there. So I know that when we're having all our housing that's being built was built with labor. We're looking at building more public safety buildings, more buildings here for the city. It is important that the community knows that these were built by their hands in their community and has their opportunity to make money here as well.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Great, thank you. The next ECD question is, what's the role, in your view, of an El Cerrito City Council member, and how are you qualified to perform that?
Sure. So the role of city council member is to govern. We set the tone, we set the policies, we set the expectations of what should be going up in our city, what we should be working on in our city. We go over the budget and we set the budget for the city. We hire the city manager and the city attorney, mostly the city manager who actually administers through the staff how our city is going to be run. And of course, the staff is the ones that make the city go. And I'm sorry, the second part was how am I qualified to administer that?
That's
I'm
right.
very proud to be qualified, and I've learned so much as being on the council for 4 years. One thing that I also always tell people is that anyone can run for council, anyone can run for an elected office and get elected, but are you willing to do the work to actually learn in your time in that seat about how your city or how your municipality run? I think that I've learned the most in my year as mayor. I've heard from a lot of our community members that you are a completely different council member now that you've been the mayor because you're the one. I mean, even though we are a what they call a mayor week city, you learn so much being the one sitting in that seat, having to set the agenda because that's the big part of the mayors. You set the agenda. You set what we actually talk about, what we tackle. You do a lot of the meetings with the city manager as far as what is important to the city council. So that's the role of the council is to actually govern what we want to see, to talk to our community members and say, hey, what is it that you want in our city? And for us to be the ones that sit up on the dais and actually make the hard decisions. But the city manager, they're the ones that do the administrating. So we also have to make sure we're hiring a good city manager. You got me being intentional, Neil. Now I didn't see the timer there. Now I'm being a little bit more intentional.
Great, thank you. And now to Michael Nye.
Discrimination is prevalent in today's society, racism, sexism, homophobia, among others. What types of discrimination do you see as prevalent in El Cerrito, and what ways would you propose to counteract them?
Sure. I mean, El Cerrito, one of the reasons that I ran was actually because, as I like to say, as much as I love the administration that came before me years and years ago, growing up as a young person, I've seen the way that this city has changed and the way that we tackle not just racism, but homophobia and all of those things, and El Cerrito to have become the very welcoming city that we are. I mean, I think one of the top things that we're seeing in El Cerrito that we are I don't want to say tackling, but working on is how we're supporting our immigrant community. You know, we're a city that sits right here bordering Richmond, which of course has a very large immigrant community, especially in places like North El Cerrito, where I am. I'm in places where we have a lot of our immigrant and possibly undocumented workers who are there at that Home Depot. I mean, the first thing that I did as the mayor was to actually reaffirm our status as a sanctuary city because there was some questions, of course, because of the administration that came in federally, and we've had to actually stand with that. When things like making how we're making our policies around whether we do or do not cooperate with ICE, making sure that this is a place where no matter what your status is, you'll be able to find services, you'll be able to find help. You won't be afraid to actually interact with our police department. We have had some questions around things like surveillance in our city. I'm going to throw the bomb out there like what it is. And those are the things that we're actively either working on or even as a council learning more about. So I think that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to discrimination that we're tackling here in El Cerrito is making sure that we are standing by our sanctuary city status to protect our undocumented and immigrant communities.
Great, thank you, Carolyn. And so the next ECDC question is, what city services, in your view, are working well today in El Cerrito, and which ones are not?
That's an interesting one. What city services are working well? I think our public safety is working very well. I'm very proud of our both our police department and our fire department. Our fire department and our fire chief has actually been a leader here in our state as far as how we are responding to the possibility of wildfires. Our chief actually went to Southern California during the Palisades fire and offered his expertise and brought that expertise back to El Cerrito. Our El Cerrito Police Department has also continued to build up our staffing. I believe when we came in, we were just below fully staffed at El Cerrito PD. So I believe that we are either at fully staffed or again very close to being that. Unfortunately, we are a city where we have a lot of retirements that go on in both of those departments. But those are department that's working very well. I think that one thing that we can do better at El Cerrito is also in our city hall as far as how we are communicating with our constituency, communicating with the public. I think that because we have such a small staff, we don't really have a public relations as it was. We have one person who tries to do public relations for the city. We're not always the best at communicating what we've done, what we need to do, and also talking to the community about how they would like to see things implemented here in our city. So if I was to say that there was one thing that we could do better, I think that would be it. It would be making better communication coming out of City Hall, and a lot of times that doesn't even come to us. I can think of as a council, we've had to kind of strengthen our city hall members like, hey, don't be afraid to go out and talk to the public. Yes, they can, our public people think we're a quiet city, but as you've seen recently, sometimes we're not very quiet. So making sure that we're giving them the support that they need in building opportunities for the community to be involved in our city.
Great, thank you. And now I think back to Irene.
Whoop, sorry, all too many windows. Um, do you believe that anyone can represent anyone and that as an elected it is your duty to do the best for your community?
Do I believe that anyone can represent anyone? I believe so, yes. I mean, that's an interesting question, Irene. Do I believe that anyone, here's how I'll answer that. Anyone can represent anyone, but there are issues and situations where you do need to let communities speak for themselves. You need to make sure that that community is being heard. Growing up as a leader in the African American community and in the LGBTQ community, we want to make sure that our voices are the ones that's being heard when you're making policy specific to us. And a lot of people don't think about that in municipal and local government because we're doing things like filling potholes and paving streets and making sure there's street lights on the side of the road. But as I said earlier, when we were talking about undocumented communities, you want to make sure that there's someone from that community that's there in the room or at the table when you're making policies that may affect them, because words mean things. We want to make sure that whatever is in our policies are things that are not going to alienate communities, that's not going to marginalize communities. And very many times that does mean making sure that you have them at the table. Of course, representative government, as I said, means that anyone can represent all of us, but we want to make sure that those people that are representing us have those voices that are speaking to them about individual communities. This is a very interesting question, Irene. I think I answered it. I mean, our government and our charter says anyone can represent all of us. So,
Absolutely. Thanks, Carolyn.
mhm.
Great, thanks, Carolyn. And so our time has actually it's not a lot of time that we have for these, and so it's 9:20 now, and we do want to give you some time to make your closing statement as well, and then we're scheduled to end at 9:25. So I know it feels like things have gone quickly, but I think that's probably our last question. Um, and so yeah, if you could give us a closing statement if you choose for about 2 minutes, and then we'll wrap up.
All right. Well, thank you again to my friends and family and community members here at ACDC and DCCC for speaking with me today. As I said, it's just been an honor of mine. I had your support in 2022 to get onto this council, and it's been a great experience for me. I love serving our community. I want the opportunity to continue to build on that. As proud as I am of the progress that we've made, there's still so far to go as far as making sure that this is a next generation city I'm proud that we are bringing in more young folks. We are bringing in more young families. People who are coming from all over the region are saying El Cerrito is where I want to call home. But I think we still have a lot of work, and I want to be here to do that work. I'm proud to be endorsed by our Congressman John Garamendi, as well as our Supervisor John Joya, members of our council, including our Mayor Gabe Pinto, Rebecca Salzman, and Lisa Motoyama, have endorsed me for to join them back on the dais again this year. And I hope that I've been able to earn your vote. Thank you again. I will continue, no matter what, I'll continue to represent this city. I continue to represent you, DCCC. But I hope that I have your vote to get back onto the council.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking this time on a Sunday morning to join us.
I
And
appreciate my cat for not coming. I thought he was going to come and like John jump on the laptop, and he didn't. So it's been a good outing.
that's a win. Great. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you,
All
Carolyn.
right, thank you.